How about them Irish?
I can't take it anymore. I need a national championship.
This is the Four Horsemen Podcast.
Fight on for old Indy. Notre Dame beats the Southern Cal Trojans 49-35 in the Jewel Shillelagh. I'm Dylan, joined by Steve. This is the Four Horsemen Podcast. My friend, how are you doing? How psyched are you for that big rivalry win? And how psyched are you for this upcoming match we got December 20th?
Great. Feeling great. And the last time that Notre Dame went into the LA Coliseum, won a pretty big game that was a little bit closer than for comfort than it should have been, and then went on to the college football playoff with Tony Jones Jr. catching that what was it, screen pass, dump off pass from Ian Book. Might have been back in 20. Galloping his way into the house and then securing the college football playoff victory, or playoff path more accurately. And that's what we did. We went in, we took care of business. In this case, it was Christian Gray who took it, that interception 99 yards all the way to the house, and then it became a pick six party, which was just awesome. And shout out to Christian Gray, not just on that particular play, but all game. He got beat sometimes, and then there were some times that he came out on top. He had some big hits, he had some missed tackles. It's all a part of football. It's all a part of playing the game, getting through it, going up against incredible weapons in USC. You got to give credit where credit is due. They certainly have some ponies in the stable, so to speak. But the better team came out on top. The good guys won. And Dylan, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, are going to the college football playoff. Would you have believed this if I had told you this the second week of September?
That's it, right? Who would have thought? I sat here, and you guys know how much I love Marcus Freeman. I love the guy. But we held him to a standard this year where he had to make the playoff. And I said, after that NIU game, even on Twitter I put out potential coaching hires. If he doesn't get it done, we got to move on. And guess what? He got it done.
Can I quickly interject? Quick point, that was Dylan that put out the names, not me. I didn't do that. I love Marcus Freeman. I'll bury a body for him. But yeah, back to you, Dylan.
Me too. And I said in the tweet I wanted him to stay. That wasn't ideal. But when you lose to NIU, you guys can forgive me for thinking we're not going to win the next 10 games in a row when we have to play, at that time, a Georgia Tech team who beat what we thought was a good FSU team. Louisville, who was looking good. USC, who was looking good. You can forgive me for thinking that this wouldn't be as possible as it's been. But credit to Riley Leonard. He's been, I think, a big factor in Notre Dame's improvement. This team came to play every week in, week out. It was a playoff game every week this year, since that game. And Notre Dame handled their business. And it started with the Purdue game, right? They absolutely annihilate Purdue 66-7. At Purdue, by the way, which is just asinine. Then they have a slow game against Miami of Ohio. It wasn't good, and I thought things weren't really changing, and I know a lot of you guys felt that way too. Then the Louisville game comes, and Notre Dame wins a tight one, but it's one where we were up 14 in the last minute or two before Louisville scored garbage time points. And then from there, it was blowout after blowout after blowout after blowout after blowout. And we get to USC week, and the line is, 8.5? And I said, absolutely not. We're going to cover this. And what do we say, Steve, every time when a team plays?
Good teams win. Great teams cover.
And that's what Notre Dame did all year. They covered the spread post-NIU, I think every game except Miami. Maybe a push with Louisville, and the Virginia one was close, but it was essentially domination all year. So would I have believed you? No, I don't think I would have believed you. I thought it was possible, but I didn't think Riley Leonard had it in him. And I did not expect this visceral, lethal, aggressive Marcus Freeman. I did not expect him to be that guy. When we're about to play Army, and they say, "What do you expect today, coach?" And he says, "I want to see violence." He didn't say, "I want to be violent." That's different. That's a different saying to me. He said, "I want to see violence." That may be treason. But on another note, it goes to show the mentality of this program, and I love that. And you could see it in the way they've played. So, long-winded answer, Steve. Did I see it coming? Not really. Am I happy it's here? Absolutely. And I believe that Notre Dame is among any others, just as likely to win a national championship among the entire field right now. I think you look at um, Stats War on Twitter. He's got a model where you can pick games, and based on all these stats, it pumps out a score prediction. I was playing around with this the other night. Notre Dame is favored to beat Georgia in his model. Notre Dame is a 48% chance of beating Oregon, and Notre Dame is essentially 50-50 with Ohio State. That's according to the advanced analytics. This team can win a national championship. Marcus Freeman deserves a raise and an extension, and I love this fucking program.
Very well said. Very well said. And we are going to get into the whole college football kind of milieu and circumstances and conversation. So we're going to dive deeper into that for certain. But I kind of just want to take a moment to wax poetic about this regular season by Notre Dame, 11-1, and exactly to your point, Dylan. A lot of us were down. It was arguably the lowest moment of college football fandom, of Notre Dame fandom in my, I started watching them in 2004. 20 years of fandom, and it could have been arguably the worst loss and lowest point of my entire life. I was only able to attend the podcast that week for 5 minutes of just screaming a lot of swears, and then just getting it out and then just going on my way because I was actually broken by this team. But all along, we set the challenge, we set the standard, we set the expectation that this team gets their shit together, understands that starting with NYU's loss. Did I say
NIU.
NYU or NI? I
Again,
did it
you
again.
did it back then as well, yeah.
Son of a bitch. Starting with the NIU loss and onward, we said at the time, congratulations, Notre Dame, you just made the playoffs. Because every game from here on out is a playoff game. You got to win them all. And they stepped up, and they did it. And they not only just did it, they fucking did it. Covering spreads, blowing out teams. I'm not going to pretend that Riley Leonard is Tom Brady, right? You're not going to get that admission out of me.
Yeah.
But he's done what he's needed to do, which is be a high quality college quarterback that by and large manages a game, takes care of the football, by and large. Mostly. There's been a couple of mistakes here and there. For the most part, you're getting a guy that can scramble, he can move, presents that dual threat, keeps defenses on their toes, can pass the ball when necessary. We have decent enough receivers that can come down with the football. And we got a stable of ponies in the backfield that will just absolutely dominate. And Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love deserve astronomical amounts of praise. And even Aeneas Williams and I think they kept him out for red shirt reasons or possibly injury, but Keydron Young, when he was in, looked like the next Audric Estime, truthfully. So top to bottom, the team, they came to play and they won 10 in a row and they did what they needed to do. So good on them. You won your 10 playoff games prior. Well, guess what? You need to win 4 more. So, we have the mission ahead of us, but man, oh man, what a regular season. It was incredible. Dylan, I'll turn it over to you. Did you happen to have a favorite moment from the season?
Yeah, I'm gonna be personally biased here, and I'll say it was the Florida State week because I was there for that one. And I'll say it's the moment when the Notre Dame fans in the stadium started mockingly doing the tomahawk chop war chant back at Florida State. Um, throughout the game, Tim Flynn and I were doing the 1 and 9 bit, right? The whole thing. And people were getting a kick out of it, and some people joined, but the moment when the whole stadium starts, maybe not using exactly our bit there, but doing what we were doing, it felt very validating as both a content creator and just as a Notre Dame fan to see an inspired stadium mocking and trolling Florida State the way Tim and I were. So that's got to be my moment. What a dominating victory that was. What a great experience it was. What great people I met there. I know. Shout out to those of you listening. Just great stuff. So that's got to be my moment of the year, but that's definitely a personal biased one.
And a great one. Beating the shit out of Florida State always feels good. It's like they're not particularly a specific rival, but obviously we have an incredible history with them, and they're one of the teams that I just don't respect. I want them to be relatively good, 8, 9, 10 win team, but like whenever we play them, if we beat them by 50, it'd be great.
Yeah.
That's yeah. There's just not many redeeming qualities about the program. Fuck them. My moment of the year, it was the general win against the Louisville Cardinals,
By the
but
way, can I just say I love the way you're pronouncing Florida and Louisville. You could tell you moved to the South here because you've picked up on that, and I'm digging it. I hope our audience does too.
okay. I did so Louisville, I tried to throw a little extra,
Yeah.
with Florida.
Yeah,
I
you
don't know.
said it like a southerner there, bud.
Okay, so yeah, I guess when I was growing up in a New England boy, a proper New England boy, I would say Florida, fly, you know. So
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to I'm trying to actually pronounce that O in there. We'll see how it works. We'll beta test it. Um, but yeah, as for the Louisville game, y'all, um, yeah, the game in and of itself was amazing to come up with a win against at the time the number 15th ranked team. Um, but just kind of the sequence of how the game ended. We had a touchdown pass. It was Riley Leonard finding Jeremiah Love, and Jerry Love goes to the end zone. I think it was 20, 30 yards that he gets in the end zone. They come back and they get Ja'Cory Brooks in the end zone, make it 31-24. We go 3 and out, we punt, and then the Notre Dame defense, as they have done all season long, 2 minutes left on the clock. They're up by a touchdown. They need to make a stop, and they do it. A successful 3 and out for Notre Dame, or 4 and out at that point. They get the first 3 downs, and then after a delay of game penalty, 4th down and 6, Tyler Shaw just can't complete the pass because lockdown coverage from the corners. And that was the moment that between the corners locking it down, the defense locking it down, it just felt like, okay, maybe there is some life to this team. And not only that, but the strength is very clearly their defense. And we know historically when Notre Dame has great defenses, they go far. So it felt like, okay, these guys are actually gamers. You may have just been a fluke, and there might still be some gas left in the tank. And it turns out we were right. So that was my moment of the year.
Yep. That's fair. That changed the season on its head. I think that kind of we said it after the game too. Like, okay, it's on now. Like this team could do it. Um, it's been a good season, and the schedule hasn't been the best, Steve. But it's not like we're playing tomato cans, right? Georgia Tech took Georgia to overtime. Should have won that game. Granted, we didn't play them without the quarterback, but they had a lot of guys injured for the Georgia game who wasn't the quarterback. The fact is, we handled Georgia Tech quite easily. Louisville beat Clemson. Clemson's a playoff team this year. USC, if the coin flip goes against them, they're 11-0 playing Notre Dame this year because they lost all 5 of their losses before Notre Dame. Steve, were one score losses that they had a lead in the fourth quarter. They led in.
Penn State to overtime, yeah.
Yeah, well, if anything, Penn State took them to overtime because USC choked it away, right?
Yeah, sure.
USC was a really good team this year, and we'll get into that game in a bit. Texas A&M, they were they lost to Texas by a similar score to they lost by the similar score to how they lost
10
us.
points short of the SEC championship. Yep.
Exactly. So this wasn't a tomato can season. Plus, I mean, Army destroyed Tulane in the American Championship game.
Mm-hmm.
They're a good team. We had Buck on last week, Steve. and or last episode, and Buck said he had Army in his model as genuinely a top 15 team. He's like, that's not even not a 15 ranked team because they're undefeated in the records. So he's like, they're legitimately a really good team, and they're going to play Navy this week, and Navy was a really good team this year too, and we'll see how that game goes. So this team had adversity, and you look now 3 years into Marcus Freeman's tenure. Year one regular season, he goes 8-4. Wins a bowl game, so he goes 9-4 in the year. Year two, he goes 9-3, so a 1-win improvement in the regular season. Wins his bowl game, 10-3 now, and then this year he goes 11-1. That's a pretty big step up. Now the schedule got easier for sure, right? He didn't have to play Clemson and Ohio State, but that's 2 wins extra. We're in a playoff spot, and the season's not over yet. We are favored to win our next game, and we might be favored to win the next game if we win this one. So what we're getting at is what a hell of a season, and what a great time for Marcus Freeman to have the kind of light turn on. Not that it wasn't there before, but it seems like he just hit a different gear this season. Like this whole playoff thing forced him to reevaluate how they do things, how they prep for certain games, and I think they're just locked in. I think this Notre Dame staff right now is locked the fuck in, and I'm here for it. And I think this team can go far. It's been a hell of a season, and I don't know. I could be more glad to be wrong about Riley Leonard. I'll tell you that much.
I'm right there with you. Yeah. Al Golden has to win the Broyles Award as the coordinator of the year, right?
Has to. I think Signetti should win the head coach of the year as much as I'd love for Freeman to win it. But I do think Al Golden has to be the Broyles Award winner. He was announced a finalist today.
Yeah. And quick Google search. How old is Al Golden?
I'm going to say late 50s, early 60s.
55 years old. He was born
No.
4th of July. That's a great fucking birthday. 1969. Nice. 55 years old. Now, would he leave for a head coaching job? Potentially.
Yeah.
But a lot of guys, when they're on the back nine like this, they kind of just like to coast. And as long as Al wants to stay, I'd love to have him. But also, Coach Mickens is basically a DC in waiting, and he's a hell of a talent as well. So, good news is we have a hell of a staff here at Notre Dame. So things are good. I think Bill Belichick basically signing with UNC to be their head coach kind of disproves the age fallacy there. But yeah, no, just shout out just a quick moment of appreciation for Al Golden. Really kind of revived his career, and he's always been a great coach. I just think he got put in some shitty situations throughout his career that sullied his name. But he really
Let's
he's
just
made
say it's Miami. We all know what we're thinking. It's Miami.
Yeah, but no, he's made a hell of a name for himself back here at Notre Dame, and I hope he stays for as long as we'll have him, because this defense is absolutely ferocious and has us on the inside track potentially. I'm gonna knock on wood, potentially for a national championship. So, yeah, I mean, just getting into the conversation now. Unless you had any other points that you wanted to raise, I think, just to get into the whole conversation about the college football playoff, going through the seeds, going through maybe some revisions that you would make if you had the magic wand. Before we get into that, did you have anything to close out on, or do you want to head right into the college football playoff?
No, that's good. Me, do you want to cover SC afterwards? Just talk a little bit about that game.
All right, let's rip SC, then we'll get into it. I mean, in regards to the SC game, I mean, I was okay with giving up points. I expected to give up points. Again, like they had a ton of weapons, and there was a baseline expectation for me that we were probably going to give up 3 touchdowns. Ended up giving up 5, but that's neither here nor there. 1 in garbage time. Call it what it is.
Yeah. Although we had 7 in garbage time too, so pick 6.
True. So, but no, I mean, like the defense stepped up what they needed to. Riley Leonard, with the exception of an awful interception, I think that was really just a misread on. I think he was throwing a comeback and his guy just like went on the go route and just miscommunication, and who knows who's at fault. But he was 17 for 22 in that game. Not a lot of yards, like 155 yards or something. But again, he just has to be a game manager to move the chains, keep the drives alive long enough for Jadarian Price or Jeremiah Love to hit one of those home run shots. So
Just be
yeah,
JJ McCarthy. Just give me
exactly.
that.
Exactly. So he's doing his job. Defense did their job when they needed to. It's fun to beat USC. I very much vehemently look forward to it every single year. Dylan, what was your read on the game? What was your experience?
Classic. I thought it was an all-time classic Notre Dame USC game, and I'm not just saying that because we won and haha, we beat SC. I just I'm a romantic, Steve, and the fact that SC did not give up at all. Here's a story, okay? So we had Buck on last episode, and I messaged him third quarter when Notre Dame took that 14-point lead, and SC gave us back the ball. I said to him, I think that's game. You guys played a hell of a game, so much heart. You guys should be proud. That was in the third quarter, Steve. I thought the game was over. As you know, folks, the game was not over until really the pick six by Xavier Watts at the end. Or possibly Clarence Lewis. Christian Gray. SC really impressed me. I'll be honest with you. Mayava, the quarterback, had one hell of a game. I'm a little worried about that. We can get to that in a bit. But man, they had nothing to play for. Like Steve, they were 6-5. They just became bowl eligible, and it didn't really matter which bowl they get in at that point because all the good bowls are part of the playoff now. That game meant nothing to them, and they played their hearts out, and so did we. How many classic moments in that game that are memorable? Tyler Buckner on the fake punt, the golden boy comes back home to throw a pivotal first down. Notre Dame really needed that first down there because the game was tied.
It's huge.
Jeremiah Love leaping a dude sends him into another dimension. Enjoy the shadow realm, buddy. What an unbelievable show of athleticism, right? Of course when Xavier Watts, right, scores his touchdown, he's talking shit to the USC bench, which is
Iconic.
amazing. And then after he scores, I think they do the upside down V. Their piece. My favorite thing to do. Just what a game. What a great game. Sloppy on defense. A lot of it was because they were one-on-one, and look, receivers are going to win one-on-one battles. I think people were a little hard on Christian Gray because he did make some big plays early in that game as well. I'm hoping Al Golden can maybe see a little bit of flaws in that, and when we come to another big weapon offense with a good quarterback such as Oregon, we maybe have a better response to that so we don't give up 35 points. But it got the job done, and we were playing with the lead the whole time, and at no point really did I get nervous, maybe until that final pick six, because I felt like we were going to win the whole time. The offensive line just bullied SC. Riley Leonard is my horseman of the game. I thought he was great, besides that one reception. 2 touchdowns, ran for a touchdown. A great one to... Oh, Mitchell Evans was... What a great touchdown that was. Eli Rarity threw a dime in the corner. I just loved it. I hated that this game was an afternoon kickoff. I don't care for the all whites, to be honest with you. If you're going to do something special on the road, just make it green and white. You know what I mean? We don't need... I don't like all white for this team. I didn't really like it for the Clemson game either, I don't think. So, overall, love it. Big win. Freeman was fired up. They teach Notre Dame players how important this game is. You can feel it, like they knew they have to win this one. They know it was a big deal, and that beautiful, beautiful Jules Shillelagh staying in South Bend. So, huge, colossal win at the Coliseum.
Love it. Yeah, no, I'm the all white jerseys. They're just save it for certain matchups. It's Notre Dame USC, as we've discussed ad nauseum. Arguably the greatest rivalry in all of college football, at least the most historic, and it's fallen off in the last 10 years or so, and that's the fault of USC. USC just like, I don't know, get your shit together, bro. Like, just figure it out. You got perfect fucking weather 300 days a year. Just like figure out how to get some
million
goddamn
top
recruits.
recruits a mile from your campus.
Yeah, like again, like, I want to beat the living shit out of USC every single year. I actually like get horny because of it, but
You and
um,
every person listening to this podcast.
exactly, yeah. It makes me want to not, but at the just be like a 10-win team every year, and then let
Mhm.
us beat the living shit out of you. Like that. That's what I'm looking forward to out of USC, and they just can't do it. What an incompetent shit stain of a program. Lincoln Riley, you are a profound piece of shit of a head coach. You can't figure it out, can you? I mean, you have one of the greatest QB prospects the last last 10 years or so, and okay, yeah, you got us back in 22, but we kicked the living shit out of you in 23, and then in 24 it was more of the same. So, um, yeah, I mean, USC needs to step their game up for sure. Notre Dame, they did what they had to do. I don't judge teams typically on rivalry games. So again, like our defense, tons of weapons at USC. Defense wasn't totally locked in, but you leave a lot of that up to emotion. Um, I'd rather judge them on their body of work, which for the vast majority of the season was incredible. It is something to take note of, though. You mentioned, in Indiana, not to get too ahead of ourselves. Um, knock on wood again, is something that we should win. Um, the next round would be Georgia, which has an injured starting quarterback. Now that their backup quarterback, still a great recruit out of high school, still very talented, but not as game experience. So that all of a sudden makes that game a heck of a lot more winnable. And that puts you into deep into the playoff, and there's a possibility of playing Oregon in the national championship game. And again, we're going to get a bit more into the actual college football playoff here in a minute. I'm just tying this back to the USC game. With USC, they had great weapons and a mobile quarterback that could make plays, and that basically emulates, this Oregon team. So there is certainly concern there, and exactly to your point, I think the last thing that you said while you were going, Dylan, was this is a chance for us to kind of take a step back, reevaluate some things and check it out. And I think that's going to be pivotal for if we're going to be making a deep playoff run. I think the first two, possibly three games, if we do win, knock on wood, would be trench warfare. But ultimately, I think that the national championship won't be won in the trenches. I think it's going to be won at the skill positions. So something to be cognizant of. I'm not going to judge them too hard on rivalry week, but they played great. Could have been better. Overall, great experience. Love beating USC. Fuck them.
Just to wrap up, Steve, our offense really killed their defense as if they were the CEO of a really shady health insurance company. Speaking of, Steve, any family relation there? Did the FBI come knocking on your door asking questions?
Oh, cousin Luigi. Yeah, right. Oh, no, I'm innocent.
Listen, don't talk to cops. That's lawyer tip number one. So we beat SC. We finished this year 11-1. We're headed to the college football playoff. Steve, let's talk about that bracket because that's our competition. And I want to first start off by complaining because, look, you're going to have to play a big team like Georgia at some point, right? But you would much rather have to play SMU, then play Boise, and then play Georgia, instead of playing Indiana, then Georgia, then Penn State. It's just an easier path, and I think we beat all those teams, to be honest with you. But it is like the hockey playoffs, right, in the Stanley Cup. It is trench warfare. It's a marathon. It is a physically grueling process to go through 4 teams. And you want it to be it's the same reason you want to win your series early. You want to rest up. You want it to be you want to be healthy going into the big games. And that's really what pisses me off, because what the committee has decided to do is not punish anyone for losing. because they had to play in an extra championship game. Well, one, get rid of those championship games. They're just there to hurt athletes and make money. There's absolutely no point to them anymore. But two, head to head has to mean something. It does. And when you have similar records, that has to be the first and foremost tiebreaker. And Ohio State beat Penn State in Penn State. They both have 2 losses. There is absolutely no way Penn State can be ranked ahead of Ohio State, in my opinion. And through that logic, because Ohio State is ranked justifiably behind Notre Dame, so should Penn State. That bothers me. We also have 2 head-to-heads that with Penn State that favor us. Purdue, we beat them by an extra 20 points, and USC, we beat them 14 in regulation. They had to win by 3 in overtime. I really hate these rankings. If you are going to incentivize teams to win their championship games, there has to be stakes if you lose. You can't just have a magic wand and be like, well, I got lucky and nothing changes. I'm just lucky I made this game, which, by the way, is exactly what happened. Penn State lucked out into the Big Ten championship game. You are punishing Ohio State because the Big Ten schedule made them play Oregon in the season, not after the season. You were benefiting Penn State because they didn't play Oregon this year. That's all that happened. And yes, you can say Ohio State lost to Michigan, and sidebar, hilarious. I'll never cheer for Michigan, but absolutely the funniest thing I've ever seen. That is such a typical Ryan Day choke job. But regardless, Penn State didn't play Michigan either. And I just hate that you're rewarding an easier schedule. And look, you don't know who's going to be good ahead of time, and the Big Ten's not trying to screw over Ohio State. It just worked out that way. But I don't think you should benefit Penn State just because they didn't play Oregon in the season. I think that's crazy, and I understand. Yeah, maybe you don't drop them all the way to 10, right? You still reward them in a sense for getting to the game, but keeping them where they are, I think, is nonsensical. Same thing with Texas. Texas has beat. I don't know if they beat a single ranked team at this point. It just annoys me how they did that. But at the end of the day, you're gonna have to go through Georgia anyway, and we're gonna do it in the second round, and then we'll have a chance to beat the absolute piss out of Penn State. So. With that said, let's get into the bracket and give me your thoughts.
Yeah. The seeding, exactly to your point, should have been Notre Dame at the 6, Ohio State at the 7, and then Penn State at the 8. That's how it
Or
should.
move us to 5, Ohio State to 6, and then to Texas, Penn State, 7, 8.
Yeah. But the good news is, Dylan, is that Notre Dame isn't even going to have to beat Penn State.
Because they're gonna
They are
lose.
losing to SMU in the first round. There is a
I don't doubt it, man.
I've been hot this year with gambling. Really quick, while I go on my rant, if you could pull up the most recent results of the gambling and everything for and the picks for this year. But I've been hot because I have trusted my gut every step of the way. I haven't looked at any sort of data, any analytics, anything. I've just looked at teams and I've said, this team is going to win. I knew it in my heart, in my soul, with my intuition. SMU ponies are beating those fucking frauds in Happy Valley, and I am going to, just like Eric Cartman, I want to drink your fucking tears. I hate Penn State so goddamn much, words can't even describe it. And when they lose to SMU, mark it down. We're not doing picks this week. We're doing picks next week. Tune into the podcast next week, please, because that's when we're getting into the real nitty gritty of our playoff matchup against Indiana. But this week, right now, it is December 11th, 8:13 p.m. when we are doing this at Eastern Standard Time. SMU is beating Penn State. I will stake my fucking reputation on it.
Well, we'll get into the full predictions next week, or this weekend. But I'm with you. I think, I don't know if I'll pick them to win. I think it's certainly possible. As for the record, Steve, I haven't updated the entire math because I usually do that when we make the graphic for the next one. But you and I both went 5-1 this week, so we're level with each other. Quick math, I'm 54-28 on the year straight up, and you're 55-27. So we're one game apart. We're going to go until the national championship. It'll be a really tight wire race here. Against the spread, I don't have that offhand, but you had a 3-game lead on me. I don't imagine that changed at all. You've been outstanding against the spread this year to the point where like anything really above 50% or 55% is you're going to get a return on investment. And if we just all listen to you this year, and to be fair, myself to some extent, but to a lesser extent, we'd all be fairly rich. We all would have made money off you this year. So credit to you there. Let's get into these games. Which games? Just a quick preview here. Just which game interests you the most of the play-in games? I guess they're the quarterfinals we're at right now, or for not even the quarterfinals, round of 16. Not even
Yeah.
round of 16. What goddamn format is this?
Let's say opening round, first round. Yeah, that's what it says here on the ESPN website. We have first round, quarterfinal, semifinal, and obviously championship. Not taking the obvious being Notre Dame. I'm going to go with Clemson, Texas. That's the
Okay.
one that I want to see. Clemson is still Clemson, man, and Dabo hasn't exactly gone with the times. Gone with the transfer portal. Um, you know, it, it's his program to run. It is what it is. I'm down here in South Carolina, and every weekend when I golf, everyone's obviously a college football fan, and we get into the whole rigmarole, and there's a lot of fans that are they like Dabo, but there's the seat is heating up, so to speak. But I think he feels that, and I think he's going to try to come out with a little bit of fire. So that Clemson Texas matchup, I'm not convinced Texas is as good as they purport to be, at least from what the national media ranks them. So I think that that's a major upset alert, Clemson, Texas.
That's a good call. I agree with you on Texas. I also think though that Clemson doesn't deserve to be in this playoff. They're not ranked in the top 12 by any service, I think.
Yeah, they're
If you
ranked 12,
well, they're the 12th
at least by
seed.
the CFP.
Well, they're the 12th seed. I don't know if they
Oh,
were ranked 12th because the reason they're the 12th seed is
true.
because they get an automatic
Oh,
bid as
yeah.
one of the highest ranked five champions, and
Yeah.
because they were the fifth of five, they don't get the bye, so they go into whatever slot fits them. And because I think they were ranked lower than 12, the highest they can get is the 12. So
Mm.
I don't think Clemson is. It's funny because they've been so good for so long, and then they are clearly starting to fall off, and yet they still make the playoff. I got no hate for Clemson though. I kind of hope they win that game, but I'm with you. I'm going to say Ohio State, Tennessee. Game day is going to Notre Dame, Indiana, and then they're also going to this one. And the reason I'm intrigued by this one is it's a really even game. I think Ohio State is more talented, but they've just lost to Michigan. Ryan Day, I think, has definitely exposed himself as just an okay coach at best. I don't think we could say he's a good coach. I
Mm.
don't think he's a horrible coach, but I don't think he's as good as his counterpart, Hupel, at Tennessee. Tennessee's got a wicked offense. Played a lot of Southern teams, a lot of good Southern teams, so they're definitely battle tested. It's at Ohio State though, so it's going to be an interesting game. I just think that's probably the most intriguing from a styles matchup, and then just from maybe an overall balanced matchup because I expect Texas to be better than Clemson. Notre Dame's obviously better than Indiana. In terms of just talent here, I'm not saying, whatever. Penn State ahead of SMU on talent, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that game's probably the closest for me. Um, but the bracket itself doesn't end there, right, Steve? Because we've got four buys. Oregon, the one seed on the opposite end of the bracket. We would not run into them until the title game. Georgia, no, two seed on our side of the bracket, which would be the Sugar Bowl, which I think is awesome because we have a cool history there. And then the threes, Boise State, we might have to play them or the winner of them and whoever if we were to beat Georgia. And then for Arizona State, who's playing extremely exciting football, and Dillingham is a cool coach. So I think it's a great bracket. I don't know if I love this system yet, but it certainly has made things interesting and exciting at this time of year. And I think it's going to be fun to have this happen over Christmas. I think that's going to be great too. So I'm pretty intrigued by this. Not the best matchups, but still a lot of good ones in there.
Yeah, and there is the critique that, Oregon beats Penn State in the Big Ten championship, and then somehow Penn State gets the proverbial easier path, at least on paper here. Um, so yeah, there's certainly some kinks to work it out, and there's talk of get rid of the auto seeds or everything or the the tie-ins with the conference champions, just make it the top four seeds, and maybe that is an answer, right? Maybe that is certainly a viable kind of tweak to the system, so to speak. But no, I'll tell you what, man, let's just let this first run through play through, right? And it's going to be a fun playoff. I think we're going to definitely see some upsets. Um, and there's just something There's
I hope
something
so.
unique about the moment that we're in, that we're living through history live. All right, and it's fun, and yeah, I think everyone should really take just a moment to kind of just take that in, sip it, let that sit on the back of your tongue for a moment before you swallow, and really just admire kind of the taste of the historical moment that's going on with this 12-team playoff, and whether or not there's any sort of amendments going forward to the seeding process, or if there's more teams. I know they're at 12. There's talk of going to 14 or 16. I don't think that they need to add any additional teams, frankly. I think that the top 12 is in college football, you're pretty much like those are the closest matchups you're going to get. But yeah, no, it's fun. It's intriguing. It's fun. It's interesting. The only thing that I do see here that I just want a quick comment on. This is on the ESPN website. So if I'm wrong, blame ESPN. It's not me. I'm never wrong. I'm right about everything. Penn State is hosting a playoff game again at 12 o'clock noon. We're doing another fucking big noon kickoff in the Big Ten against SMU. And I mean, that game is on TNT
Yeah.
on the 21st, that on the Saturday, the day after Notre Dame. We're doing a fucking noon playoff game in Penn
And it's
State.
not even on Fox.
Yeah, that's an atrocity, man.
Yeah, and it's only the sixth whiteout of the year or whatever, which totally doesn't devalue the whole whiteout. But that's a funny observation there, Steve. I'm guessing they just want to fit in multiple games that day and create a packed Saturday. But
Yeah, so Notre Dame is the only Notre Dame, Indiana is the only game on Friday. They're playing at 8 o'clock at night. And then Saturday, you got 12, 4, and 8, respectively, with SMU, Penn State, Clemson, Texas, and then Ohio State, Tennessee. So, long story short, I think maybe moving to a 2-2 model on the weekend instead of a 1-3 with the games, so that way we get rid of that 12 o'clock p.m. because no one wants to watch a playoff football game at 12 o'clock noon. It doesn't exist. There's not a single person that thinks that that's a good idea. So. Yeah, I don't know. Weird system, but again, there's plenty of judgments in foresight here ahead of time before we even go through the experience. So let's let this whole thing play out. And if there need to be changes, I'm open to it. But college football playoffs, man, the expanded version. Just a reminder that Notre Dame would have made the college football playoffs if it were only 4 teams. So, fucking A. No, it's exciting. Exciting times.
I've got 3 things that I'm holding on to here. One, when I jumped in earlier and said I hope so regarding upsets, I hope so for the sake of justifying the expansion, right? The whole argument against expansion is there's only 4 teams in a given season that could even compete for it anyway. So I want to see upsets. Justify the existence of 12 teams in this thing. Have SMU go on a run where they win 2 or 3 games. Hell yeah. Unless one of them's against us, then fuck that. Number 2, how poetic is it that the first ever college football playoff game played on a home campus in the expanded playoff era will be at Notre Dame Stadium? It's so perfect. It echoes the beautiful, beautiful rhyme of this sport throughout history for Notre Dame to be the first host. Just like college game day, just like everything, forward pass, it's all us. Notre Dame's the only thing that matters. Third of all, the power and influence Notre Dame has in this sport is stupid. Let me explain. Notre Dame media people were leaking for a while now that Notre Dame was eyeing that Friday night spot. That's the one Notre Dame wanted for whatever reason. I think it had to do with exams and also probably the gigantic ego we have of being the first team to ever host a playoff game. And also having no competition, right? Friday at 8 p.m. What on earth is being played at that time on television that would even compete with Notre Dame? Nothing. So, plus it's the first one, so you're going to get all the hype from all the people watching, so it's going to be great. Notre Dame got that. I'm sure every team wanted it, but Notre Dame had been letting that out there for weeks that they wanted it, and they got it. And I don't know, man. I don't know if any other team could just get away with some of the shit we get away with. And it goes to show you that Notre Dame is, in fact, still very relevant. Um, that's it for me, Steve. I'm hyped for this. I think this is going to be great. It's going to be a fun holidays. College football's the best. NFL sucks. I barely watch it anymore. It's just, uh, I get it. It looks like a movie. It's cinematic, but it's boring. Who cares about anything here? It's copy and paste franchises. There's no passion. There's no real tradition. There's like little unique things, but not really. College football's the shit, man. It is just, there's nothing like this. And obviously, I wouldn't say that if, I didn't have a podcast on it. Clearly, I mean it, but I know a lot of you guys listening also believe it. And I'm just glad to be part of this with you guys and to do this with you, Steve. Mr. Mystic Mac over here predicting things left, right, and center. Although I think I might catch you straight up. We'll see. But yeah, I don't know. You take it away here. I'm just gonna keep rambling some shit.
No, it's all good. Yeah, and as much as Notre Dame flexes their muscle, and we do, I just want it to be clear that we don't overlook this. There's a genuine appreciation of it from the fans, from the players, from the coaching staff. You can tell, right? And I feel like the kind of the misnomer out there in the college football chatterbox that is the internet, right? Is that Notre Dame is entitled, bratish, all that sort of shit. And again, we flexed our muscle and we are who we are. We're Notre fucking Dame, right? As Lou Holtz put it, you either if you get it, then there's no explanation that will that will live up
Necessary.
to it. Yeah, necessary. And then if you don't get it, then no explanation will suffice, right? So there's just something about this program. There's something about this team. There's something about the aura of Notre Dame. Now, don't take that for hubris. Don't take that for being cocky and everything. Notre Dame still has to win this game, and we're gonna get into kind of the nuts and bolts of that next week. But are we thrilled to have the first ever playoff game and play those hosts? Yes. Are we thrilled to have some of the built-in advantages that we've had over the course of the last 15, 20, 25 years between the BCS system, between the college football system, and then now the expanded playoff system? Yeah, I mean, I'm thrilled to have those advantages. Understand that a lot of that is built on merit, and that's because Notre Dame has earned it every step of the way. They haven't exactly been gifted a easy path over the last 120 years. And we may not have lived up to expectations since 1988, the expectation to compete for a national title. But Notre Dame is the marquee team of college football. We are the main brand. In a humble way. Again, I'm saying this not to be a dick. You'll know when I'm pouring it on. I just want to say that it is an honor to cover the team in the capacity that we do, again, as esteemed members of the media. And
Very esteemed.
yeah. and just
The
to
most
watch,
esteemed, maybe some would say.
some would say, yeah, it's a magical moment. These college football playoffs. Really looking forward to just soaking in every moment. Maybe soaking it in just a bit more than BYU as they're left on the outside looking in. And
Here.
but no, it's gonna be magical. It's gonna be amazing. Hopefully we come away with that win. But college game day, first ever game, under the lights, 8 p.m. Let's look at a quick weather report. Let's do Stevie weather report. Let's just check and see what the anticipation is for next Friday night.
And I'll have the Canadian conversion to Celsius while you're ready to go.
Oh yeah, I forget that you guys do your weird system.
Me and the rest of the world, Steve.
Yeah, but don't you realize that America is just right and everyone else is wrong?
Yep.
um,
I don't want to be shot next time I go to the States, Steve. I have to agree with you on
yeah,
that.
yeah, true.
As the
Well, as
51st state of the
expected,
United States of America.
hey, watch your ass because there's some chatter out there. Not gonna get into it. Anyway, um, looks like it's as of now, again, as of December 11th, so we're a full 9 days out. Does look like it's gonna be 35 degrees, which is what, 2 degrees Celsius?
1.66667. Good
All
call.
right, I don't like that many sixes. That's a bad omen. But anyway, um, yeah, it's gonna be cold. That's one last thing I think before we we're gonna talk recruiting just to close this thing out, but just to close out in the playoffs. It does suck that we are getting an Indiana team. I mean, it's cool that it's going to be the Indiana State Championship, but using that 35-degree weather with 15-mile-an-hour winds, so probably bringing that chill down into the 20s would have been real nice against an SMU or a Clemson or one of these southern schools. But alas, we don't control it. It's going to be the state championship of Indiana, and go Irish.
Yep. Brief on recruiting. National Signing Day has come and passed. Notre Dame has not lost anyone, which is a first in recent years. Thinking about a certain Bowen. Um, Not that we signed everybody that had committed. A few of them had decommitted before that, but everything went smoothly, and even better than that, Notre Dame landed the services of high 4-star, borderline 5-star linebacker Madden Framo out of, I believe, San Diego at one of the Catholic schools there. Beat USC. It was kind of we were leading the whole time, and then, USC was last minute, and then it flipped back to us. Huge stuff for the staff. It's another good recruiting class. They're ranked, I think, 12th on the On3 composite type thing, but a lot of really good talent in this class. A lot of high end talent, DBs, offensive linemen, just Canadians in general, with two of them: Will Black, offensive tackle, and the quarterback Blake Hebert. We'll get into more of that, I think, in the off season, but lot to like. Staff's doing its job, and it's only going to get better if Notre Dame continues to win and make these playoff runs. So just know that those days of 5 stars committing are not that far away. So yeah, any comments on that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it all ties together with the conversation tonight. It's take care of business in these playoffs, and the recruits will come. This is a down year, quote unquote, for Marcus Freeman by his standards. The last 2 years prior were incredible. This is a down year for Freeman, and this down year for Freeman would still be one of the best years that Brian Kelly would have ever had.
Yeah.
So again, it's just kind of setting that floor. The floor is what the ceiling used to be, and that's just a telltale sign that you're really stepping your game up. And I think it's showing through with the talent on this roster. Namely at the cornerback position, right? You had Christian Gray go from the number 2 guy to really now the marquee guy with Benjamin Morrison's injury, and then Leonard Moore, right, is the other corner,
Yep.
and
Freshman.
he's a true freshman, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and he's a 3-star recruit out of Round Rock, Texas. And Leonard Moore is really coming into his own and balling out and playing. And again, that's part of Coach Mickens and the staff and their development, and also just having an eye for recruiting. So something worth noting is that Notre Dame historically finds 3-star guys that really they swing above their weight, so to speak, when they reach the next level. And there's plenty of 3-star guys that came through the Notre Dame system that are in the NFL today. So, we'll get more into the numbers and everything. Let's let the season play out. Let's let these college football playoffs pass, and hopefully, we're going to be recovering recruiting the end of January after our season ends. And with that, I say, go Irish.
Couldn't have said anything better myself, Steve. Thanks for listening, guys and girls. Give us a nice 5-star review if you can, and all that shameless plugging. You can find us at Horseman Pod on Twitter and on Instagram. Happy to hear from you. It's just a joy to do this, I think, and so many of you are so great and have been so great to us. And hopefully you enjoy listening to this, which of course you do. Why else would you be listening? But yeah, from Steve and I, early Merry Christmas. You will hear from us sooner than that, though, with an episode coming out for Indiana week. So I'll leave on this, Steve, because this will be the title for our next one. Rudy would have started at Indiana. It's almost officially Who's Your Hate Week. Go Irish, win the national championship.
Go Irish.